recently. We have a very full agenda. And I will call the meeting to order. I've realized just how terrible I am with introductions, so let's start there. Well, we can just go around the room briefly. I'm Julia Johnson, and I believe I know everybody in the room. Erin?
Not sure anyone knows the names in my class tonight.
So the executive director.
And hi everyone, I'm Kevin McHugh with RCU.
Response. And we'll listen to this one. Two over, but no office.
City Hall players. First of all, it's like.
And Vanessa Stromberger and the Deputy City Attorney.
Aaron Ross, City of Eau Claire, Neighborhood Services.
And our go-to, so I can't remember who was. Thank you.
Aaron Reeser, their city council.
Wonderful. Okay, our first agenda item is the previous meeting minutes. Thank you. Did you get that?
Yep.
Any further discussion? Then all in favor of approving our meeting minutes indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Then our minutes are approved and we move on to our current financials. Would you like to, or shall I overview?
Go for it.
So we did do some work on these financials to make them a view that I think meets the board's needs. So certainly chimed in on that, not only just the content of the financials. So we have an overview of this year. Now, take a look at prepayments to DECI. That is our money that has been provided to DECI to pay bills for other things. So it's not a payment to DECI, but it's to pay for our garbage service. Street maintenance, botanical supplies will, I think, eventually get switched, like that $20,000 to beautification / improvements. So that's our beautification grant. There's one more, activity promotion and sponsorship, advertising and marketing. So those line items don't equal $50 or $50,000, but the $50,000 is provided to DECI to pay bills for that until they get down to $20,000, and then they will request another $30,000 to kind of have that working capital to pay our bills. So they're spending our money instead of DECI's money. So if you take a look at, in the packet, it's page 6, but it's the spreadsheet that has a different format with like the colored blocks on the right. That is our new combined view of what the city has spent and what DECI has spent. So the first pages is an overview and then transactions that come from the city. Third page is a combined view. And on that combined view, on the left-hand side, those are the transactions that DECI has spent on our behalf. And then the colored boxes on the right of the page is city expenses plus DECI expenses. And I would say that is the format that we are most used to. Like that's our kind of right now view. And we also discussed as kind of, you know, city staff and Aaron and I, these views are going to be calculated prior to the executive team meeting, which is 1 week generally before our full board meeting. And that's out of efficiency. So if something was spent last week, it's not going to be on this sheet. Aaron might comment if it's a large one, but I didn't want this process to happen twice in a row. So I hope everybody else agrees that this is enough information for our purposes. Any questions on the format or the content? Captain?
The past, the other big boards, you know, we had a bill and we sent it to the city and we paid it and the city's paid it. So now we're having a Becky pay bills and the city pay bill.
So remember that our contract with Decky only went into effect a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. So this is a unique point in time that in 2025, Decky was, or the city was paying bid bills like for garbage service. They paid Q1. Decky paid Q2. Like, it's a unique situation because we just entered into this contract. And for the rest of this year, we'll get a little clarity when we get to, the item that's about Decky's contract. But I would say everything is going to be paid by Decky, with the exception of there's the audit and the insurance, and like, we don't even see bills, approved bills, like that's just paid to the city for the city's small amounts. The other one is improvements to property. And that was because at the time of writing the RFP, I thought that it's what made sense. Since then, I think that we could have included that in Decky's scope of work. So, I mean, this gets into next, or probably August's meeting, but I would actually anticipate in 2026. Our budget looks more like subcontracted services, and that includes all of these, like garbage service, repairs to banners, even capital improvements. And then there's payment to Decky, audited insurance, and it will be a little bit more simplified, but yes, essentially the city pays very specific things. And Decky pays the rest. Joe?
On here, I see that for the grant for Joe Mauer, we paid 5,000 total, but it's 5,000 remaining. That's so correct.
Mhm.
I just, I did a walkthrough of the town calendar and the art was fine, but there is quite a bit of, ink on the sidewalk. Is it possible that we haven't from that before we get up to doing that once? Make sure that it's cleaned off.
Yeah, we can certainly talk to him about that.
I think he intends on doing that, and he ordered more paint, so there's another like 2 rounds of paint going on, and then after that, as you mentioned that.
Is there, are you able to let us know when he says he's done painting so we can just do a walkthrough of it? Before we do?
Absolutely, he's hoping it will be done in the next 2 weeks if the paint dries, so.
I haven't actually walked through, I've only like prepped from each side.
It looks pretty good. I want to do it.
Any other questions on financials? And I'd be looking for a motion to approve. Tim and Kristen. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion passes, and we move on to the bid operating plan. So it's emailed to you and it is in your packet. This would be a bid plan for the remainder, well, actually, no, I wrote it for 25 and 26, but we can update it at any point, essentially. The one item that I told you, I still felt like we needed to discuss was the legal advice. And did you say that this version that was sent out is acceptable?
This version looks good with the exception of one word change to say, instead of subcontracted, to say retained, just because that's the legal language that we would use. But otherwise that works.
I'll highlight some areas that we talked about as a board. With the like board composition, there's a recommendation for a or guidelines for a board structure that I feel like is closer to what we discussed. Having a majority of the board members own property. And essentially, it's been communicated that anything more restrictive than the law, we're not sure that is lawful. So at this point, we couldn't get a legal opinion from the city attorney's office to support that. And if that's something that, we want to spend bid money on investigating, that would, be a future initiative. And this is really in line with what city council had discussed, and it's what we know is for sure lawful and would be supported, with a letter of, yes, this bid operating plan meets the state statutes. Is anyone still looking for that section? Try to. Under organization of bid number 2. Because the bid board recommends the following composition. Other items is we went back and forth on service provider, it was a hope that we could say that, in 2026, we plan on hiring Becky as our service provider and basically not going out to RFP for that, but, the accounting department has identified that as an issue with the auditor. Is that correct? So it still says that we would go through the RFP process to hire a service provider and that we could enter into a 3-year contract with that service provider, provided that funds are budgeted to cover that contract. So, and then it does specify that service providers would be allowed to subcontract, and those subcontracts do not have to follow city procurement policy. That's where we landed with that one. If there were other pain points, I've forgotten them because we focus on these. Yes, Tim.
It's just done a little more. I think we get these discussion and executive board about that, and there were folks from the city who were present when we discussed it. The statute basically says, well, not basically, it does say the board shall, at least 5 members, but majority of the board members shall own or occupy a real property, business, and people district. And the statute basically says this is what we have to do. I'm pretty sure the rest of the city attorney's position is we couldn't mandate city council to do something different, but we could certainly give them what we thought was appropriate and suggest that. And that's why I said this suggested language about what we feel the compensation should be. And it's important to the business owners and here. But that's why the language was changed up from what was in the initial draft, saying it shall be done to this development and council. I feel that if I'll talk about that, board meeting, that's definitely that. And the executive Saturday, and all of city staff.
I added in more language to include advocacy, but I think you were okay with saying as long as it's not for a to support or against a political or an individual running for public office.
Yeah, I saw your language on that, that's fine.
And I actually had a question about that. It's that I just want to make sure that's to direct, the board can't say we support candidate as it's not as individuals.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely, any individual can, so, yes.
Figured that was the case, but.
So on the board meeting 10/26, we were talking about kind of advice. So does that mean on the bottom it says, the bid money, what's the it paid for other legal professionals, if subcontracted to the city's attorney's office?
If retained through
Do we have to hire
the city,
for advice to the city attorney's office?
as in, instead of a contract with the bid, the, third party legal services would have a contract with the city attorney's office that would authorize us as a governmental body of the bid, or of the city, sorry, to, work with the city attorney's office to select, and direct, right? Like, we would still get to ask this attorney our questions
Yep, you
and,
can define, the scope of work, the questions that you have for them. Because again, it's your budget that would be paying for it. So if there's something that you're not willing to pay for, or yes, you really want an answer to, your budget determines how that works.
so this is a compromise. This is,
Could we just hire a?
as a governmental body, and I've actually, looked into hiring a lawyer. So first, we can't spend bid monies that aren't budgeted, right? So if we don't have,
Your
but we couldn't, if it wasn't allowed in our operating plan. Like, I think that if we put in $5,000 for our, legal, like, Janessa would tell council like, oh, that's not permitted by their operating plans. So any lawyer, two lawyers that I have talked to, the first thing they want to know is like, oh, if you're hiring this as a bid, do you have council approval? Have you been, like, they will have to check with the city attorney's office for conflict of interest.
That's what we hired. I can go to.
Even, to hire an attorney personally to represent me as, Julia Johnson in this position. So many of the attorneys have, worked with the city of Eau Claire, that there is like, oh, they're a previous client. I need permission to be conflict of
Let me
interest.
just try to also jump in. John, the issue I think that, I know we was in that discussion with Steve and Vanessa about this. And meetings is, you have to think about who the client is as a lawyer. That is, if I represent investment realty, investment realty client, you may not be my client personally. If I'm representing investment realty. City says, supported the law here, is that the city is the entity, we are just a part of the city. Therefore, city hires all of their own legal counsel, in this case, employees counsel. Therefore, nobody in the city can obtain outside counsel without city council approval. That a fair.
Yeah, I think just to add a little bit more to it, a bid doesn't have legal standing of its own right. It is a subdivision of the city, so a lawyer can't come in and represent the bid because the bid isn't its own entity. That lawyer would represent the city and work with the bid and answer whatever questions you have, but the city itself would still be there. The bid can't be sued separately, if you want to look at it that way. If somebody had an issue with something that the bid was doing, it wouldn't be the bid receiving the lawsuit, it would be the city. If that was clarified a little bit. So that's why any lawyer would have to work with the city as an entity, in order to serve that.
And kind of, very into another department of the city, like in engineering, can handle the ordinances for the permit. And if you usually get, legal help from the legal department to write the ordinances, they will refer to the council. Engineering doesn't go, if they don't have time to help, engineering doesn't go and hire their own attorney, that they would work with the legal department. Hire an attorney through the legal, our legal team would be like the project manager, it's just like our engineers or project managers, our planning staff, project managers would be planners that are rewriting the full book. So that's kind of how it fits in with other industries that are using purpose. My hope is they don't even have to through the root of all of the issue that people for.
So, my intention in bringing this operating plan to you today was to seek board approval or changes to make it, what the board wants in an operating plan. And that approved operating plan would be, given to council to approve. And that way we know that next time we meet in August and we're approving a budget, that our budget and our operating plan that council has already said is an acceptable operating plan will be our combined plan for 2026. And I think I wrote 2025 because as soon as it's approved by council, then it would go into effect. And now I don't feel like that changes a ton of our operations. It actually, there was a few things that I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Our operating plan isn't in place. That's not the case yet, but I can't even remember them.
I'll move that we accept the 2025-2026 operating plan. As written.
Could I offer, I don't know if I have to need a second before, but just with the word subcontracted changed to retained.
With the words subcontracted and the advice section changed to.
I'll second that, and as someone who's not on executive, I just want to say thank you for all of the negotiation and compromise that went into the agreement. So it's better than.
I would want to do that. It is represented by the city's attorney services. They use their involvement as budget and as other legal professionals. Retained by the city.
Can we call them very much?
Sure, where it says if subcontracted through the city attorney's office. It's, I'm sorry, paragraph 10 revised.
Thank you.
And I'm trying to get a little bit of John's concern and concerns that others have listed. Because I think in the end, it's council's decision on what can and can't be done. And so, if we change the word subcontracted to retained, and just state if retained by the city, I'm assuming council will follow the city attorney's advice. But really, the city is the client, not the city attorney's office. Unless there's any problem with that.
No, that's fine.
Okay. I think that would give a little bit more comfort that if a board has difficulty with advice they go to the council and say we'd like to use our money to hire and second.
I will second your amendment. And I believe that we vote on the amendment first. Discussion?
The other thing is, it's not complete, my belief is they're not complete. So we're moving in. And we should have the attachments. So, we have an this, set of the property.
Yeah, map, we would certainly have, okay, I hear you. I don't know how to fix that in this moment.
Well, it should, if we're approving it without the attachment.
Well, the list of taxable properties is kind of, I believe that's not meant to be that, well, it's in within, that's not necessarily part of the operating plan, it's just that just is referring to the district. I don't know if that list has to be in operating plan in particular. It's, I mean, the law around it states that it's that district, so that's a moving object anyway, you know, by having that in operating plan.
So if you the map is moving through.
It can, it's not official, but it
And
can.
then, so we're gonna approve it, don't have it.
Well, we've got to define district borders.
It's not that.
And John, maybe, I mean, could we just specify that we're going to have the same map that we, you know, the existing map, and I believe these assessments were sent to us this year. So,
Well, they found it was recently, it's some of the boards that the accessible properties were correct. They were being assessed, that should have been assessed. So that would affect the budget.
yeah, and those were sent to us, I think it was prior to our last meeting, so maybe Marchish.
We didn't get David. West firms here.
I can pull up a bit now, if that's what we need.
I'm a little lost. Any advice from the city staff on if we're approving this operating plan, can we still fill in those blanks before sending it to council, even if this board wasn't provided those in this version that they're approving? Because they're like known and
I think a motion to allow the chair to fill in the appendices, I think would cover what you need. And, you know, as long as it's in line with there is a known map, you know, it's not like you're gonna create a map and just do your own thing. So everything would be in line with what everybody has seen before. And so if you authorize that chair to do that, I think that would cover us.
sorry, Jen, I've been so focused on, you know, through page 9.
Can I ask about the city attorney opinion then, is that already been written?
No, it hasn't yet.
That's also listed as in
Right, but it would be it's a form. It's not gonna be anything interesting. It's just, you know, this meets the statutory requirements and it's
done.
exactly, that's been covered. And just, you know, the bid maps are all on the website, so you can.
Okay, so, John, maybe you would be willing to make a motion, or I could make a motion authorizing myself to, fill in the pages needed, beyond page,
It's all the attachment.
yeah, all the appendixes.
Probably take a vote on minutes first.
Okay, I didn't know if we were like 3 levels deep in this, or, okay.
Well, you always start with the amendment first.
And then we'll make another.
Yeah, John's question.
It's really interesting, Maureen. Thanks for your support, you guys. Okay, so we have an amendment for page 10 of the legal advice. Do you want to read it?
Well, yeah, you may have to correct me because you're talking so fast. So we have, the amendment says to alter the section to say bid is represented by the city's attorney services, but the bid needs bid monies to pay for other legal professionals as retained by the city.
No. Okay, so on the paragraph that you have, paragraph where it starts, third line after the comma, it says if subcontracted through the city attorney's office.
Okay.
Just replace that clause by if retail by the city.
Okay, so that is the motion. We have Tim made the motion. I have a second. Any further discussion on that amendment? Then all in favor of that amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Then that amendment is made to the original motion, and I feel like, John, we might have another amendment to the original motion.
I'll say amendment that always acts for it before we.
And, okay, so before we approve it would mean that we can't approve this until August. But if you authorize me to, so would you, so I'm feeling like maybe the motion could be that you authorize me to fill in the appendixes and communicate that information out to the board prior to this getting sent to council? So that would delay us to getting this approved until August.
We can move it here today, subject to giving you that.
Subject to getting the attachment?
For clarity on what actually the enrollment is.
Yes. I feel like subject to, we can work with. I mean, not that we have to, I mean, yeah, if the board doesn't want to approve it, I'm not trying to prevent that, but.
Would we be wise to just state that you would, your amendment would be to attach our current map bid boundary and current assessment list to this before presenting to council?
And the letter.
We're approving, but I think this attachment should be filled out. And it's part of the agreement. And if you sign a contract and it's subject to all of the attachments, if they weren't there, would you?
Right, but if you want, basically, you want this completed on presentation to the council. We know, I mean, we have seen our bid matches what it's been. There's no modifications happening for that. So you would.
You never know. I mean, it could be different as the years have passed.
Right, but what we'd approve now would be you could amend that, we do it with our current boundaries and current taxable property lists.
Yeah, it should be part of the, it's
Yeah.
attachment, but it's not the
Oh,
whole.
I know, but what you're doing then is authorizing the exec board or Julia to attach our current ones, which we already have established, to this document.
And if you authorize an individual, then we don't have to wait until another meeting 2 months from now to be able to send this to council. Okay,
I'm not offering an amendment, just saying that before it's approved, it should be finished.
agreed. Okay, so we don't even need an amendment for it. So then this is discussion on our original motion amended once to change the section about legal advice. And I assure you, without an amendment, that I will review those appendixes and make sure that it is filled out before council receives it. I assume that Janessa will share her letter of support, legal opinion.
Yep.
Prior to it getting sent to council as well. Any other discussion?
I just want to confirm with Jennifer that we don't need to make any changes regarding the procurement policy. Great, so if that's going to go in, then that needs to happen now.
I will add that it's my name.
for the subcontracts, we still have to follow, be in line with the purchasing policy. And I would ask if you just need to provide your MOU document, but if that was, you know, I think it would, yes, in my language, if that could be consistent between this document and the one that's already signed.
I think we need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's not, if they're saying that something needs to be changed, because we can't just say. Just different, it's in the back.
If it's further things forward, I could work on it. It was authorized and I would service provider.
Mhm.
If you don't go, then balance expenditure subcontracted by the service provider and not required to follow the significant balance. That language, it's in the MOU, says like you said, in good faith, it was not like the environment.
We had added it, so she's talking about the contract that the bid has with Ducky. That we had added that any subcontractors follow the GAAP standards and debarment standards. So just that little. And debarment standards. So there are some providers that are prohibited from doing business with the city or like at the state or federal level. And so even, and Jennifer can correct me if I'm misstating this, but even one of our subcontractors can't do business with somebody on a debarment list. So we just need that additional language added in, is my understanding.
What was the other piece besides department?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So are we looking from the building, that's, policy, but I would like to follow the, and
Department.
policies. Or requirements.
I mean, if it's in the contract, it has to be both pieces.
It should be. I'm just saying it needs to match.
Okay.
Because our auditors, like we can't put in any of the people laws and not follow policy.
Wouldn't the auditors pull the contract? Not cooperating?
They pull all of them. If you're selected, they pull all the documents to review them. So if there's inconsistency, they can pull it on.
Say requirement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's consistent with all city departments.
Yeah, I was just confused because that one's not a contract, but. Right, I mean.
I have no issue with adding this here. It's certainly more specific than our, operating plan that we've had for 20 years, but I mean, we've already agreed to it. We're going to do it. So Tim, were you,
I know that's what language. Don't treat them. Yes, what does we say on that? Yeah, but.
Yeah, I've got it up. That sentence says Decky is responsible for hiring subcontractors if necessary, and these subcontractors must meet generally accepted accounting practices, GAAP, and debarment standards.
Second sentence, is like,
Yeah,
Service provider are not required to follow the city procurement policy, but must, when you second half, what, to mess it up. Must follow federal something practices.
okay,
I'll make a motion to add that language into this.
I will second that.
Amendment, I'm sorry, or that's, I will make one amendments.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
if the criminal allows it.
yes.
Does not have to follow, if you're saying does not have to follow, then it says will follow.
Well, that the whole reason we like gone into this, chosen this path is because, we're redefining what the service provider does have to follow, and to us, it is really important that it says like the service provider is not subject to following everything in the city procurement policy, and you've defined what they do have to follow, which that is easier than saying like, you have to follow city procurement policy, because if city procurement policy changes and now like everything has to be printed on pink, like that shouldn't be a requirement for the service provider.
What I would say, except that. We have all that. It basically says we all have all of that.
There's no other, well, other city subcontractors not have to follow the same policies too. Like we've talked about this a million times before, years, hires a subcontractor, they don't need to get 3 bids or subcontract. So if one contract can have that, then we should be able to have that too.
And then,
Yeah, I mean, it's not even here, it's just the weird.
Well, like, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to,
We know it's spelled out.
but in meeting after meeting, we have said subcontractors don't have to follow the city procurement policy, and I really wanted to write.
Even if it's not. Violation. That's something big. For making your.
But I'm not trying to erase all the work you guys have put into this thing, and yet then, giving and working development, the understanding from the audit standpoint. If we get old, and
Yeah.
after me, I just want to be, you need some sort of language in there.
Yeah.
And it's what the library is saying. So if you want to keep everything saying that,
And-
interact,
I really appreciate your feedback, so we know what our risks are, so that if you go to the city council meeting when they're considering this and say, I think you should, reject this operating plan because it says this, I think that's a good that we know that risk. Any further discussion on the amendment specific to adding the, gap policies, the accounting specificity about the subcontracting? Then all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we have 2 amendments to our original motion. Any further discussion on this motion to approve the operating plan with those 2 amendments? Then all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. 45 minutes of our meeting, and we have a operating plan to go to council. Thank you very much.
20 years of both.
All right, so let's hear beautification grant updates.
okay. Things are underway with beautification grant, as Joe had pointed out earlier. Payments have gone out, so half, 50% has gone out for Joe Mauer. That was basically to cover the cost of materials. And so the final $5,000 will be paid out at conclusion of the project, and when making sure that he has, cleaned up his space and things. Additionally, what was not in your accounting, because it just happened this week, we did pay out 50% of Steve's half mural, so $3,000 went out for that. They had to delay the project just 1 week, so it should be starting in the next 2 weeks. Because there's some confusion over who's handling the permit at the city for the mural, so they're getting that sorted. It should be certain. Matt Haddish has his new windows and door in. It looks remarkable. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but you should drive by. It really does make that whole streetscape feel more commercial and friendly. And that is finishing up. We haven't been billed for that, but that was $7,500 that had been approved for that. Once that gets paid out, we'll probably be down to that $20,000 threshold, so I'll be requesting. So that's the update there. There's nothing more. I should point out too, though, that you guys had moved some money, to cover all three projects. And that came out of your reserve account. So it is showing when I do my retail report, it is showing on here. But I usually that gets rectified at when books close, and that will be next March. So just so you know.
So you saying that makes me, remember something that I want to address in agenda item number 7, which is Becky contracted services action required. Any objections to me flipping items 6 and 7? Okay, then we will, talk about Becky contracted services, and the thing that I remembered, was that, Aaron just mentioned. So we have permissions, to kind of approve now that we're in a contract with Decky, and I ran these by you last time. So Aaron, whatever you just said, we did, listen for the difference, and any chance you have what I emailed you and you could put it up on the board? So basically it says that the board authorizes Decky to select vendors, hire services, and pay for those services up to the dollar amount budgeted by the board in the following categories: advertising and marketing, garbage service, street maintenance, banners and maintenance, beautification, improvements. The board chair can approve invoices for payment. Decky may use their discretion for partial prepayment of beautification grant money to grant recipients upon request from grant recipients if assurances are made and there is justification for partial prepayment of grant money. I just said that. I was like, oh yeah, we should add that. Oh, it's that, authorize the chair to request more money from the city when bid money paid to Decky reaches below the acceptable threshold. So basically, this stuff is written into our contract. We discussed it. We wrote the RFP that, you guys approved in this fashion. I just wanted to kind of put it all together in a motion so that, because a lot of times it says as authorized by the board. And we did this part, during this meeting and this part during this meeting and, I just wanted to put it all together so that, it was easier to track. And then kind of the not included part, any overages or transfers of budgeted money between categories requires bid board approval. Decky will only pay event sponsorships and grant awards that are approved by the board. So that's kind of setting the guardrails of how Decky spends our money. Hopefully, this is completely consistent with, the board's understanding, because yeah, I'm hoping that nothing in here is new, because it's all been discussed and approved in other contracts and RFPs.
Do you want a motion before we discuss our last question?
Yeah, we discussed.
I was
Questions
just
are good.
wondering if, there are instances where that happens in executive session because you need, so like I was imagining a event is coming up and it's a time sensitive situation where somebody that doesn't really exist because I'm thinking that these things were about to, the event.
Yeah, things were really kind of hard to navigate at the end of last year, and the board authorized the executive team to spend, in alignment with our budget without full board approval. I don't know if this replaces that, but now that Decky has the ability to spend, not so much on the event sponsorship, but because the executive team only meets 1 week prior to, I don't really see a scenario in which we need the executive team to approve a sponsorship, and certainly I don't think anyone would want us to approve beautification grants that the board isn't voting on, so I'm okay with it being full board approval for sponsorships and, the grants, but, obviously executive team, their committee and everything.
I mean, if they're asking, where needs are, and it should be on.
Yeah, quite frankly, I'm worried about giving a sponsorship to somebody who's last minute and for money, if they need money and they kind of thing to plan ahead to ask us for it, then question
There is
the event's validity.
There is a requirement on the sponsorship form that it be turned in 2 weeks prior to your executive, so they can't.
Erin? Okay.
I was just gonna say, I know that some, occasionally some that in the past have had quorum problems. And so that might be a reason to have this as an option, but
We are one of those that have occasionally had quorum problems.
Change that.
Yeah.
Those have,
Ahead of the board.
right, so we would know we didn't have. Or they don't know is the remote.
I have a question for you. I can read that compared to the way to, the larger scale, a lot of, if you click on the actual bill, click on the whole experience of the.
There you go. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
There's a Zoom at the top, you can use, Ooh.
Now we're getting into our eyes.
It's just the glare.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And this will look different for next year because it covers different categories, but,
So we're gonna quantify for each item beautification so much, whatever, so much.
Yes.
They're just paying the bills.
yeah. And that so much is straight from our budget. And we might do it a little, different next year, just a heads up. Uh-huh.
Grant that hasn't started yet. That can use the one monitoring one. Using their discretion on one to make the first payment final.
And so far, Erin and I have been working together on that, and I assume that will keep happening, especially until we kind of established, best practices. All right, so I would like to kind of lock this in with a motion, just so that, we have official board approval if there's no issues with it.
Think about who. What occupation, staff vendors, managed services, as described. Who would be. They want the document on screen. Sorry.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Can I
forward that to me.
Yep.
Oh, any opposed?
Oh, you got it.
Okay, no opposed, and that motion passes. And then Dave Solberg, maybe you could just kind of check me on this. I would also, under the same, our agenda item is DECI contracted services action required, and I was hoping that the board would authorize me to write a letter of support for DECI's application to the Main Street program in just kind of our relationship of, DECI's contracted services Or am I out of agenda if I discuss this? I also could just write it as an individual. Yeah. And,
I think you're fine.
okay. So the Main Street program is similar to the, oh gosh, what's your current title?
We're a connect community.
Connect Community costs $125. You get
200.
no fee and more support in the Main Street program. And this is something that Decky has been working towards. And this board actually encouraged Decky to work towards, starting like 2 years ago, and they're looking for a letter of recommendation. And I thought that I would just reference our history with Decky and, say that I look forward to them having a greater support system and, more professional development with the Main Street program. And I was hoping that by authorizing me to write that letter of support, I can sign it as on behalf of this board. Their application,
Main Street wants to break.
WEDC, is the administrator of the program. And they're considering Decky's application, and in that application, they need references.
A minimum of 5 to 10 letters of support for our. Recommendation.
That can be businesses, individual property owners, or community related, even groups like this. Now that application, which needs to be in June 16th, it appears, that,
That portion does.
yeah, that would qualify us for what year of entry into the Main Street program for that.
Yeah, so there's, if we get, these letters in, there is an initial cohort of 5 communities that will be considered for the program, and that lasts another year. So this would allow us entry into Main Street or as accredited Main Street by 2027. And then in 2026, we have a variety of different things we have to do, trainings we attend, meetings, and some homework, and that requires 5 of Decky's board membership, folks to kind of engage in that. So they've changed their application from just like a paper form to this longer kind of developed, cohort get to that. So we have we were the second person to apply this year, and so we have a very good chance of getting in with these letters.
And by Decky being a member, they can actually extend invitations out to their, I don't know if you call it affiliates, but we would actually gain access to resources. The individuals on this board and in our community would gain access to resources through this extended program.
There's my question. If they just are, we have additional resources. Doesn't cost us any years.
Costs us less money. Yeah, so every Main Street community, they say on average receives about $15,000 of either direct funding or support annually from WBC. So that's access to grant opportunities, architectural design, facade, loan considerations, things like that, as well as all of their webinars, events, and things. Those are they all come to the bids. They would come to economic development team at the city, as well as.
On behalf of the board,
That was it.
any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then that motion passes, and we go back to agenda item number 6, sponsorship request. This is also an action request. Okay, so there is, I'm sorry, we reviewed this last week, but we didn't talk about it. We've got 2 or 2. And Erin provided, do you have a
Yep.
spreadsheet of it? Yes, please.
So you see 2 applications. One was for International Day of Yoga from Latitude 44, who has applied before, and you have, agreed. And then the other one is from the artist, art, Vintage Art Market Bulk Fair, which is, from single living news of my business, just FYI, I did apply, my manager who runs the program did. Sorry, I have to. Lots of pages here.
Really?
Yeah, oh, festival. I play hold on.
Oh.
That's so cool.
Well,
I know, and I was, sorry, I was looking for the spreadsheet where you kind of add them up.
so I'm so sorry I didn't do it because we never got to it at the exact board meeting.
Yeah.
So it fell off and I was like, you do have the applications in here. Normally I give you a little bit easier view of it to compare. I can do that, eventually. So which one should we start with, folks?
In our packet, but you got it, it's a multicultural.
During the executive committee meeting, we discussed the operating plan at length, and after an hour and 45 minutes, we called it quits, and we did not discuss these applications because we had expended all of our time and energy. And just for a reference, we've spent $5,000 with the sculpture tour. We've spent $1,000 with Eau Claire Marathon, $1,000 with Jazz Crawl. We have $3,000 remaining of our budgeted activity promotions and sponsorships. And we, in the last 2 years of my memory, have not gone over on this line item. And we do have ability to, in the future, if we so choose, just to kind of put a little context out of the money.
So you said we think 3,000.
3,000 up to budgeting. Yeah.
All three of these, so we got all three of them ask for the proper amount based on how many people.
We have these occasional.
We did not request all of them. In this application, do we say, are you willing to present to the board? Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about this because the meetings run so long that, we're looking at not having them come here. It's a brand new event, we really need more information. And then the follow-up as well, we would have them, submit, paperwork as a follow-up versus to present it if you guys want to have that. Right, right. Sure.
Yes. And you could make a motion to, approve all three, or we could consider them individually. We have not kind of established how this board does that.
I can walk through,
Well, and
which one? This is they actually did, it's the hybrid event. So they did one last year in October. But now they're looking to do this annually. So Juno works with, it's actually a variety of organizations, but Juno's working with the Hmong Mutual Association, to put this event on. This one is in Phoenix Park. Last year, they moved it, they held it at Sonotake for the first time. So there's been a version of this event going on for a handful of years. It is very successful. They have thousands of people that come out and outside of the community enjoy this event. Definitely will be considering a sponsorship to them as well. Soon. Yes. Well, and again, it's kind of a hybrid version of a couple events coming together to make it more successful. And so, yes, it was up at the soccer parks for a while, but now they're moving it back into the downtown. Yeah.
okay, so it sounds like we're gonna consider these individually. So did you want to make a motion to support them at the $1,000 level?
Sure. I'll second it.
Any further discussion on the multicultural event with Jonah? Then all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that sponsorship is approved, and we will move on to the International Day of Yoga.
So International Day of Yoga, she's applied every year. We had some timing issues last year and the year before on this one, but obviously it's coming up in 2 weeks, so just happening soon. This is used to be a much bigger event. And after COVID really toned down. So it's just a free day of yoga on Wednesday, I believe it is, in Phoenix Park. Should be there. 250. Yeah. So it doesn't have a huge number of attendees, but it is a nice community service she's providing, brings in a few different yoga instructors. Debbie is talking to Reese about bringing this event back and like elevating it a little bit, to get it back to the place it used to be where we could combine a number of the yoga studios and offerings. Reese took over Latitude, just about 2 years ago and still kind of getting into sort of things, but we'll, entertain conversations about how we maybe make this event, bigger.
I'm kind of quick, my mind just goes to the 75 people that are anticipated. So I'm want to almost go back to what our original conversation was around what we're looking to support and the number of people that are looking to support. It seems on the very small side to me for like what we're looking for. It feels like to me that we're looking for larger events, like 1,000 or more type of people.
So Becky did not honor this sponsorship either, just so you're aware, for the same reason, that we felt like, that it really should bring more people to kind of engage the community in a bigger way to get the sponsorship. So again, that's one of the reasons that he's gonna work with her to develop this event next year.
I love that idea.
And I'm a little concerned that we're 2 weeks out, and it says that it's gonna be paid promotion for the event.
And there isn't a ton of promotion that goes up for it, obviously. But it's great intention, and like I said, I think she gives me full support, so. You did last year, you did 150.
As I recall, way that it last year, but now it's more.
You made the exception because it was about, it was about, it was to pay for staffing, but I think you guys honored 150 last year and almost top of it.
Well, that's this, I guess I have to kind of look at our guidelines to look at the funds that go for it, calling out for purchasing audio equipment. I'm not sure that kind of falls within our intent for this year. It's, the funding to come out what's happening, not just buying equipment for the business.
It also feels like an event, like, they're a yoga studio and then we like on the pop-up side. And probably mostly their customers are coming into the studio, but like we have events on service and we that draw everybody people and just call up to do a co-op thing. You know, you gotta line up the door, so it doesn't feel like it's a departure for at this point from what other their primary business is, whereas if there was several yoga studios coming together and it was like really showing that anyone can sit quietly for 45, or, you know, I just trying to get a larger scope of what the event is.
And you know, I think Aaron, your idea and what you're talking about for next year, the coming years, making it like a bigger events and drawing more people. And my thought on this program is truly about how much impact can the event have and bring people in where they're going downtown. We want business, Stella's and our place and other businesses downtown where 75 people in my mind just doesn't move the needle. And to your point, it is almost like 30 people going on the downtown tour, and I want to sponsor that.
We sponsored 250 last year, and from what we can tell, the event is not growing. I don't think we need a motion of non-support, and that's where I hear the group going, so we can move on to the Next one, unless like someone wants to make a motion to support.
What do you think?
I'm in agreement. I mean, Debbie, it's hard, right? Because we get a lot of asks and we want to support everyone. We recognize how hard it is to be a solo business owner and do extra things. But we agreed that the ask for the equipment was an issue for us. We have equipment we can borrow. So yeah, I have to get back to her. We just, at Debbie this week, we just, decided not to sponsor. So I am meeting with her. I'm gonna sit down and talk with her about why, just to help her understand. And like I said, we have a little more time now that we can reach out. We are making really good connections with the other yoga studios. And if you guys know yogis, they like to do things and travel, and we could really make this a very successful event for an early summer, program in downtown. So I think we're gonna offer her those in-kind services of helping her elevate the event. And I think as we represent the bid, that is kind of the same, offering we can get from you guys. Help them connect, yeah, and, do.
I think there's a strong desire there from the board to support.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, and if the change of location. Yeah.
And I agree with what Crystal said, it's really hard, right, because we all, as business owners, try to kind of make these micro events, successful as part of our day to day. And we should be doing that, but if we can make it a bigger community, moment, then that's where, this type of support will really help.
Really, my question is, because they applied, should we have a formal motion of denial so that there's something that records that we actually considered it and decided to use it? If so, I'd make a motion that we deny this, for 2020.
Second by Crystal. Any further discussion? Then all in favor of not supporting or funding, giving sponsorship dollars to this event, say aye. Aye. Any opposed to the motion? Then that motion passes, which like is a negative, so it's like hard to come out from. We're on to the artist market. And this is a series of events for Saturdays. Yeah, go for it.
So again, transparency, this is my business that applied for it. This is an event, it's in its third season. And we did apply last year as well for this. It's held in Phoenix Park, the second Saturday, June, July, August, and then in September, we move it down to Fall Festival. Basically, it is open to kids kindergarten through 9th grade. It's absolutely free. Anyone can register to be part of it. Single WU provides tents, tables, chairs, basically everything a child would need to set up their own entrepreneurial booth to sell their handmade wares. It's been extremely popular. We've actually had to kind of cut back. We allow about 40 kids to set up each weekend. We're actually already filled up for August. The really amazing part, other than just seeing these like beautiful creations these kids make, is once they sell something, the first thing we do is go across to the booth across from them and spend that money on something. So the local economy is like really happening right before. In addition to these kids selling the wares, each kid will get a T-shirt, sponsorships on the back, so that they're able to be seen. We actually hire and pay youth musicians to perform at the event. We also have different community members or organizations that come in to do creative workshops with the kids. So the first one will have Bared Feet. Lynn Busby from Bared Feet will be there, and then my aunt-in-law, Supernella, used to be a childhood teacher, coming in, and they do 3 art projects with kids, not just at the event, but the patrons attending get to create things and take them with them. So
The ask is $500. It's asking below the anticipated attendee expectation.
I would move to support.
Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And then our third sponsorship is approved and we move on to landscape and planters. You're up again.
Okay, so if you've noticed, your planters have been planted. Obviously with the construction happening, there was just a little hiccup with, making sure that our, Jen Linville from Lily Bees have access to those planters to make sure that your investment doesn't die in the next 30 weeks. So she is, working with, the engineering department to make sure that the planters can get moved to a location where she's easily connected with her watering truck. She also, if you've noticed in your financials, was paid out. The first bill was for planters and labor, and then the next one is for the second quarter labor, so that you won't have a third bill. So. But everything looks good there. I don't know if you've got any additional questions about it. Once construction is done, so you might notice they'll be moving to kind of like one location for the next couple of weeks. So the watering can happen, and then they'll be moved back to their original location.
Access for watering is an issue with the construction, and I basically told Jen to do whatever is practical for the time being.
And I should also say there are self-watering planters, so if people are kind of questioning that, initially early in the season, it's not advised to use the self-watering portion because the plants don't grow strong enough roots to actually grow. So for the first month, she actually does have to go water them, and then after that, we'll be filling the little pump they're strong enough. That's all I have.
Let's talk about the kiosk.
No, kiosk is great. We got great.
Well, no, it is working. Guys, just don't check on things again. I need to reboot it. We've now exited the contract, for this.
Awesome.
I am doing some offsite testing with some software that work with that hardware to implement our own. The data provider for everything, and then working with Grant Barnes on what designs and all that. All the in the works and at least eliminated the major. So
Yeah, so roughly $5,000.
it could be on that last thing. We're in the works. It is functioning right now, oddly. I'll wrap it on track.
I know.
Yeah.
And from my perspective,
All function. So anyway, we're making progress.
so from my perspective, I was totally ready to go to a slideshow with like a, $30 Raspberry Pi. And Jason is not giving up on it, and I really appreciate offering your expertise to help try to come up with a plan, not, I was ready for a backup plan and we're still kind of working on plan C. So I think that's great news. And thank you, Erin, too, for sticking with it. Anything else on the kiosk? And banners?
Banners, so we have Thomas Lee, John and Thomas Lee Lighting came out, and we had some really gnarly banners hanging out there from Spencer, so they went up and replaced them all. At this point, all of the North Park banners that you have on hand are up. So that happened, it's roughly $85 an hour for labor to 3.5 hours, so that's what that bill for Thomas Lee was. I should say there are a few banners over by you, Crystal, and then down into the Phoenix Park area that the hardware, so we have kind of two versions of hardware that go on your light poles, the old ones and the new ones. And now the new ones are having some issues. They're getting, the way the bolt goes in are getting like worn down and they need to be replaced. So there are going to be some hardware costs to fix those banners. Basically it will from flying loose, and then we've had to go out a few times and grab poles so they don't, fall down. But so that is an expense that will be coming up that of course I'll talk to Julia about, but I am looking into.
And we have $1,000 budgeted. You've spent, what was that, 200? So do you think we're okay without board approval for like going,
For hardware?
yeah,
Yeah.
for whatever repairs?
Yeah, you really just need these little bits. And
Okay.
so Thomas Lee can take care of that for me rather than me going to ours and finding something and just bill us as needed. It's a handful. So yes, but if you guys are interested, in, getting new banners, there's always something we can do there as well. And I should mention that, the International Coop Tournament will be having a big event down here in 2027, 26. They're already thinking about ways to promote that, and they're in conversations with South Barstow Bid about getting banners that could be put up, and so they will be probably asking the Northwest to bid the same. Obviously, it's a little bit farther away, but they want to start planning it to do it too.
So this, I'll just throw it out there that I'm thinking about for next year, rather than having like, $1,000 budgeted for banners, thinking about doing subcontracted services, including, so there might be a bigger pool of money with like maybe some expectations, but like not so set in stone this line item. So that would not be for this year. I'm talking about doing it in our budgeting season, at our August meeting. So I just wanted to just kind of throw it out there as like, when you hear me talking about that, it's kind of this situation where we need board approval to move from this line item to that line item. Do we want more flexibility within our contract with Decky? And that's a board question, not a, Julia direction question. So something to think about for next time.
Do we have like a regular cadence of updating the banners? Like, I just know, like, when I drive down Barstow and like there's something new, it's like, oh, that's pretty, what does that say? But then when you keep the same design year after year, it becomes kind of just white noise, right? Been there, done that. So I'm not advocating for us to do it every year, but is there like a cycle where we?
So,
Why not?
yeah, I think it's.
So we actually, when we talked about our capital improvement dollars, we talked about buying new banners with some of that money. So Decky could help us coordinate that purchase, but it would be a purchase, through the city purchasing policy with, city paying the bill for this year. So yes, I think that the board is already kind of working in that direction.
I should add, so South Barstow Bid does do banner change outs throughout the year. So there's, we already have a schedule worked out with Thomas Lee, and that's actually when we got North Barstow banners updated, was at the same time they were coming out of the South Barstow. So it definitely saves on cost, especially if it was the ball. South Barstow had fall winter banners that go up at the end of October and come down in February. And then with the EC Marathon and Jazz Crawlers that switch out. And then the summer banners go up, and that's, you'll probably see them now, they're only teal and orange. Well,
I should probably do that, but
We have red banners all year round.
yeah, this same thing.
Yeah.
but we should have their same schedule.
Hunger Games District 9, that's what we have. Are you?
All right, well, we just have a couple of items left on our agenda. Decky events update.
You should be matching up with some parts.
Good conversation.
And Debbie did design those, so we didn't pay out for that. We have an amazing graphic designer on staff. We just need to give us a vision and we'll give you options.
Yeah.
Decky events.
Yeah. Decky events. So a lot is going on because we're at the start of summer. So I just want to touch on a few things that will impact your district. First, we just got approval from the city for our sidewalk Saturdays event. It's a really simple thing. But basically we get a sidewalk encroachment that covers all 4 business improvement districts. And what that does is allows the business owner to use the sidewalk space in front of their building to activate it. So it could be something as simple as rolling out a merchandise table or wrap, or it could be activating your space, maybe the kids clothing shop, maybe Kevin gets out there instead of juggling or, single living who might be doing kind of pop up on the street. So you obviously have to keep the sidewalk open, at least for that 6 feet of clearance so that, people can get by. But otherwise, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., you're allowed to do whatever you want there. There is no cost to be involved with this, but Decky is launching a registration for it on Friday. So if you want us to promote what you're doing out there, we'll have that access to that information. And can share it out publicly. So goal would be to get enough businesses to do this, that when you come downtown, you look down the street, you see things happening. Farmers markets going on, artist markets going on, the goal would be to get those people to come and spend all day downtown in their shops. So, if you need help with that, ideas, we can certainly help, and then Becky will be planning a few, during these sidewalk Saturdays, a few, kind of like street performances, throughout the season. It won't happen every time, but it will happen sometime. Any questions on sidewalk Saturdays? This even includes Water Street, Jen. I know, it's not my version. So anyway, that one's, annually, it should be from May through October, but we didn't get on the agenda for, to be approved for council until just, this last, meeting. So, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., it's your responsibility to take stuff in. So that's that. Second, we also have, partnered with Tangled Up in You to do a downtown summer market. So alongside the artist market in Phoenix Park, there's 4 booth spaces available to downtown businesses or Decky member businesses to be able to, promote what they do, either sell products, nonprofits can go talk about the mission they're doing, things like that. So we actually have a variety of businesses that have already signed up. Schlupp and Black Chiropractic has been there and signed up for a few days. So it's a really great opportunity for you to, meet your community and, get other exposure. Right now, while you guys are in construction, you get a 50% discount for about 25 bucks, I believe. They have a booth, in Phoenix Park from 7:30 to 1. You sign up right on the Decky page, for that. And of course, promote that out as well. Upcoming meat raffle will be at Firehouse. It's going to be wonderful. Chloe Gold will be emceeing alongside Matt, so it should be highly entertaining. That will be June 22nd, and then the next one will be in your district that we know as. It will be July, I believe it's I have to look at the exact date. It's a Wednesday evening, not the Sunday. About 5:30. So they will have their pizza there. We'll be using their new space in the outdoor patio space. For that, it will be July 23rd is the tentative date for the big one. And then we're looking to do one at Dooley's on Water Street and at the dive later in the year. Great fundraising event, super fun. Anything meant to me. We work with local farmers, Blazer Family Farms, throughout the Table Farms, which is a micro dairy Osseo, and then Deutsche Family Farms has been the 3 we picked this year, but open to others as we move forward. So we had a mix and mingle. It was great. Thank you if anyone attended. We'll be hosting another one soon. The other thing is fall festival registration is open. North Barstow, we know that we don't, the event grounds doesn't go as far down as you do, but you have the opportunity to have a booth, either for, I think it's free or it's like really cheap for you to be down in South Barstow, doing stuff. You've been, like Matt from Raggedy Man thinks it's worth it to put a booth down there because, so many people are there. We got numbers back from Visit Eau Claire that, last year we had just under 11,000 people attend the event. We kind of always thought it was around 40,000, so that's huge. We just secured a GEM grant with Visit Eau Claire, where they will be spending roughly $6,000 on marketing outside of the community for the event. And one of the things they do is hire an influencer. So we'll have a family influencer either attending and presenting our event for next year, or they'll use some assets that we have to create a vibe around it this year. So that was really exciting. And then we also received just a general grant from Visit Eau Claire's program to cover that. But there's lots of sponsorship opportunities available for that, as well as programming. So if you haven't attended last year, the goal we're shifting to for Fall Fest is to really shine a light on the amazing things that are happening in our community from our businesses, and particularly downtown. So things like Couple Robotics will have a competition down there. The Open Marathon is going to be hosting some fun events for kids. We have Eau Claire Express coming in with their mascots. And so if you are one of those organizations that feel like you can do something extra and want programming time, please reach out. Or if any of your friends or neighbors are, because we really want to just like give a holistic view of all the cool stuff we do and make sure people are engaging. So that's that. Greg, moving on the bridge, there's so much more I'm just gonna do. Greg, moving on the bridge, tickets go live on Friday. This year we've had a change, hooligans has completed their term of service to us for the last decade and informalists will be taking over as the force. And we recently met with them, they're so great to work with. One of the bonuses is we don't have to rent from A1 anymore, we can work right with them for all of our needs, tables, dishware, things like that. So tickets will go on sale soon. We also have sponsorship opportunities for that event. Hopefully this year we're gonna have it on the bridge, but why not, throw around some game in the first year. After that, we also have a big, are you interested?
I would be.
Okay, let's talk. Yes, informalists used to do our desserts, so we are looking for a dessert vendor. Also, our downtown enhancement grant that is $50,000 is opening up on Friday. There's a 1-month window to submit for your grant ideas, and awards will be published in August. So things like volume 1 ski bikes, Eau Claire Outdoors kayak rental, downtown adoptive planter program, or the mural project. These are things that have been funded through downtown enhancement grant. Any Decky member business can apply. We've combined it into one grant this year. So you can either apply for something that enhances the entire downtown community, or you can apply for something that would enhance your space, particularly like the beautification grant with like facade updates that would enhance your space, but then of course allow people to enjoy that enhancement. If you have any questions, please let me know. I don't know if there's any more things.
So I'm feeling compelled to bring this up. So I saw an article this morning about the big one, and the big one being in our district. Have you heard about this? Like the bricks past the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost feel moved to want to do something as a bit to offer support, not financial necessarily, but just, I don't know. Maybe I just look out.
Decky was going to do some promoting, similar to like with the construction, like they're still open. Dave is still open, and he plans on being open because it was a viral and I'm sure it's not great. Matt and I actually are going to go talk to him about just kind of how he feels, what's going on. But yeah, we could do some just. It's great. And if you're scared to go on May 1, you can go before 5 p.m. It's just time. Bring my kids and everything.
Yeah, great. Oh, right.
It's so great. Free time. Yeah.
I was like when Aaron White was here, the construction that's going on downtown. So it's looping. Is it going in front of Jampton RC? Is it going through that whole stuff?
Section with Madison and Rear Frontiers is totally torn up right now.
Right.
So.
But were they gonna, because my early guess was watching, it's just that, it's not going on, it's going to itself.
I should actually mention that because of the construction, there was a construction meeting last week, and Decky was involved with the city to make sure everyone knew about it. Since then, we have on our website, you can go to the Decky website and find out current construction updates. So as things change and move, we're adding the information there so you can find it.
I've got emails to perhaps.
Yeah, it's been great. Matt also went around and put QR codes on signs, basically saying businesses are open. That actually leads to the directory for North Barstow businesses that has, your logo, it has their times they're open. We're gonna do this for the rest of the bids, but it became important during construction. Other big thing is that the parking ramp is free for anyone to use during construction time. But please tell your customer. Hopefully people will use it and be like, oh, this is very easy, and I'll use it all the time in downtown. What's that?
Matt's video the other day.
I know, obviously Matt has a North Barstow business, does like construction for a couple of years, so he he definitely took the lead on this, but I think everything that came out of it has been really great, even the conversations with the city and making sure, we're working with Leah Ness to set up an annual meeting, you know, in fall where bids and a deputy can be there to look at the next year's or the construction to make sure that we're hitting issues like delivery trucks and garbage service. Because those things often get, you know, it's not necessarily the city's, you know, in their purview to be thinking about our needs that way. And so, hopefully this will help clean us up in the future. So, we don't have interruptions that create mass chaos and that they're kind of all working together.
Even with falling rock and such, you also notice that behind them, there's a street out that's being reconstructed now. That's been.
Yeah.
For the office.
Yeah. Some of the.
Thank you.
But there's, I think you can see progress with the over the hour with young and relatively quick. So it was nice. I hold, you know.
Any other, and we made a conscious effort to not talk about the North Barstow construction in this meeting because we knew we had the operating plan and it, like, we did discuss it as an executive team during our open meeting, executive committee meeting. And we talked about like kind of future goals of communication and what was working and, you know, kind of how we got to where we were in kind of future plans. So that's certainly something that I know the bid cares about, and our partnership with Decky makes us better poised to help be part of the solution in the future. But there's just a lot to talk about there, and I was like, we don't have time in our meeting because, you know, we could talk about it all day because it's very, you know, impactful. And thank you for doing.
Oh, my pleasure to host, but I would just say that like whether or not we are officially doing advocacy as a board, we definitely increase our communication amongst each other and with the staff. And like, I think the free parking in the ramp and definitely some of the sort of lengthening of the Galloway Street, the Galloway, Barstow four-way, so that I could do people trucks keep still arrive at the co-op was like part of that advocacy that I'm really appreciative. I mean, those are two things that changed faster, I think, with.
So if you like what Decky's doing, don't hesitate to sign up for a membership. That's what helps us continue to be able to provide this amazing support and communication to y'all.
We're so I feel like, yeah, that's a perfect segue into city staff updates, or I don't, yeah, city staff updates, that's how it's written. Erin, anything you want to start us out with? You gonna defer?
Last business parking meeting is tonight over at the library. Very riveting conversations will be had. If anyone has any comments and they can't make the meeting, I would say email me today, because I will be there recording the meeting as well, and we will have it out on the website. Dave,
And that's on 7.
6:30 in the Dabble box, so downstairs. Basically, yeah.
I have a class until.
RCU Dabble.
Yes. I show up at 7:15. Will there still be like materials or?
Yeah.
Just be a short presentation. What I wanted to do is, we have a parking meeting on Tuesday for people that didn't live downtown, how they kind of go over them, very heavily attended. But that was the last public input on the study, and so I was working on a presentation of what I would like to be recommending to council. And I wanted to present it to the businesses first, and I have a work session next Tuesday with council, so it would give you an opportunity to think about it and speak with your elected officials if you want. And then we'll put a council crash probably in July.
If I miss the presentation, can I still get the materials that you're gonna talk about at 6:30?
It'll be, probably like the Tuesday one, slides, so I can print out my whole, like, copies of the on, so.
And then would you say that on Monday, the 9th, at 6 PM, that would be like, if anyone from this big board wanted to speak, as individuals about their thoughts on what your, first proposal to city council is, that's the best night to kind of say.
Give a public comment, come and express as individuals, the board, when it gets closer, I can make a formal presentation. Well, we're doing the quarter, so maybe for or
August 7th is our next meeting.
it'll hopefully be multiple or five.
Okay.
But yeah, as individuals, you can come every 2 weeks, but as long as it's not on the agenda. But it'll have public hearings. It would be an ordinance change, so there'll be a public hearing and it won't be a full next day. So you'll have an opportunity. Both in a public hearing settings as well as.
I think the question, constrained parts and all the stuff that go, change. Yeah, the city talked to the police department and the city and the police department, where they would take it by when they did some pilot lots. Because they used to take the car to people, they have violated or been smart. They used to put tickets, now
They won't follow up private lots. If private lots were ticketed, it would be this part of the parking study, if like your 4 corners lot or stole lot. We're part of the inventory and say, you know what, like with the skull, for example, I have people coming to my office at 5 o'clock and things, so I want to go to the public. But then after 5, the city can put it on the passport system and charge parking and let's put the revenue with it. Then enforcement on it will come along with it.
have you got that in the proposal?
That'll be part of it. So we pay the second pay that.
When does credit for Tuesday?
After the first clarification.
So a year from now.
I'll probably move to the year.
Because you're not gonna get the five or not, so there's one close.
Right, and then won't get enforcement unless they're part of the department. Open. The police department will not enforce private lots.
But they used to do it.
They used to enforce private lots at gas stations and enforce gas private lots because of research.
They used to help you get inside your parking lot.
So you have to go.
Used to fill it.
So we're still.
They just, the police department staff have not increased as much as the population and they have to make resource calls.
I just want to mention that, I don't know who all has been involved in this, but there's this really cool project with Visitor Claire and they're both like a regional study of our branding, like the outdoor activities in the region and also like a metro, urban version of it. Have you, Erin, have you been involved in that?
I am aware of it and, have gotten updates, but I'm not involved in.
Yeah, but it's just really cool to think about because it's all about like, how do you use the trails, how do you use the bridges, how do you bring, and really like the greater downtown area is like this kind of like string of pearls of like amazing little business districts that are connected by riverways and waterways and trails. And so if you guys are not already involved in that, you should try to figure out a way, because it's like, you put you all in a room, I'm sure you could brainstorm amazing like branding efforts and programming, so, but yeah, just put that on your radar.
Any other city staff updates? Announcements?
I have a question. I'm kind of going by that. On the beautification grants on number 6 or number 5, is there any money left in that grant program for this year? Okay, because somebody else did, you always get asked.
I think in October or November, we'll start taking applications for 2026, and then we will award those grants at our meetings, so starting in February until they're exhausted, and then it's done for the year.
What's
Say what?
the total amount?
This year was 20,000, we spent 23.
It was, yeah, you spent 23, and then it's $10,000 max per applicant, but $20,000 total budget.
We haven't budgeted for 2026. Any other announcements? Yes,
All right, now that I'm gonna bring coffee.
Been on your calendar, helping city manager Hirsch, organize a, like, sort of municipal budget presentation slash Q&A session. That'll be on June 22nd in the second floor of the brewing project from 1:30 to 3:50. So it is a Sunday.
And then you come right to the meat raffle after.
Come right to the meat raffle at the firehouse right now.
Budget beer and beef.
On a Sunday.
Budget beer and beef festival.
If you solve the city budget problems, then you get extra wrap.
Yeah, okay, we're on, we're in, we'll do it. Okay, so what? We're adjourned. Yeah.
Yeah.